welcome to the Comfy Crafter. I am the Comfy Crafter, and today we're going to be taking a look at Arthur Bunny's legs. I have tried this once already, and so this is take 2. To start with, we're going to look at the magic circle. So wrap your yarn around your 2 middle fingers and secure with your little finger, and then take your crochet hook under the 2 strands, pull the yarn under and then over the top and pull through again, and that creates the slip stitch. Arthur starts with 6 stitches. I always miss that first stitch. Arthur starts with 6 stitches, 6 double crochets into the magic circle, and to do the sort of initial double crochets, you go under the 2 strands of yarn, pulling through the yarn, and then going over the top and pulling it through again. Once you've got your 6 stitches, they're the V's that you can see. Once you've got the 6 stitches, you can hook it off your finger, you can hold on to where you started, and then you're going to pull the yarn strand that moves. One of them doesn't, one of them does, and that's going to pull it in. And then you're going to take the tail of the yarn and you're going to pull it tight, and that's going to create like a half moon type circle. It's not a full circle. Some patterns will have you slip stitch into the first stitch to make the circle. We Woolies, which is who made Arthur, you're just going to start straight with your second round into that first loop, and that's going to close the circle off. In this first round, all we're going to do is we're going to do 2 double crochet into 1 stitch, which is an increase, and we're going to do that in each stitch. So we're going to take our stitch count from 6 to 12, and then for Arthur you eventually get your stitch count up to 18 for the leg before you continue on with like building up the leg. To do an increase, all we're doing is, to do double crochet, all we're doing is going through the stitch with our hook and then pulling the yarn through to leave 2 yarn loops on your hook, and then you're going to pull the yarn through those 2 hoops. So it just creates a very simple stitch. To increase, you're doing 2 of them in each stitch. Fairly straightforward once you get the hang of it. Arthur gives you a really good opportunity to get the hang of it because it is the only stitch that he uses, and there's no complicated embellishments. It's just a really nice straightforward pattern. Because you're working in rounds, when you get to the end of the round, you're going to want to put a stitch marker in place just to allow you to see where you're ending up. And actually here we can see what I mean about the circle closing up when you've done the second row. So the stitch marker is going to go in the last stitch you worked. So it sort of looks like it's one behind the loop, but it's the last stitch you've worked. And then with Arthur, I have just carried on with double crochet all the way around, following the pattern, and I'm up to 18 stitches. So I'm just continuing to build up the depth of the leg. This leg probably took me about half an hour to do, just to give you an idea. It took me about, well, depends how much of a swing you get into it, but yeah, the leg probably took about half an hour, the other leg another half an hour. Once we get to the end of this first leg, what we're going to do is we're going to do a slip stitch to finish it off. So all that means is we're just going to go into the loop, into the stitch, and then rather than creating 2 loops on your hook, you're just going to pull the yarn straight through the hook, the first loop, and then cut it and pull through. And that gives you like a loose finish to that first leg. Second leg is created in exactly the same way. All I would say is that with animals, the tension is just you're pulling the stitches quite tight so that you can't see the stuffing through them when you're finished. Other projects you would have sort of a tension chart, so you might be doing a swatch before you start to make sure that your tension is right. But the tension at this point, when you're starting out, is just it's how tight you're doing your stitches. And for me, I like quite tight on the animals because you can't see anything through them, and it gives them quite a firm finish, which is quite nice. So when you come to the end of the first leg, for some reason I really struggle to keep my hands in shot for the entire time, which is quite annoying. When you come to the end of the first leg, what we're going to do is we're actually going to join, we're going to continue the double crochet round and join the two legs together. And in order to do that, we do sort of almost like a figure of 8 around the outside of the legs, so to make sure that they are fully joined and there's no gaps. So once you've got the first leg, what you want to do, a bit ahead of myself here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the two legs together, making sure the stitches are going in the same direction, and then I'm going to hook through the last from the last hook on the second leg. I'm going to hook through to the first stitch of the next row on the first leg, and then I'm going to like essentially just continue on exactly the same with all the other double crochet. You're just pulling it through, and I've done a really good job of getting that just out of shot, but unfortunately I didn't notice in time. But yeah, all we're doing now is we're just continuing all the way around the outside of those two legs, and what that does is it gives you a full row around the whole body, and you end up looking like you've got a little pair of Arthur Bunny trousers. The body, which we'll do in the next stage, is literally just a continuation of the legs, but this joining of the legs can be a bit tricky, and you tend to end up, especially on the first few ones you do, you end up with a bit of a hole in the, I guess it would be in the crotch area. You get a bit of a hole between the two legs where you haven't quite joined them together on that first stitch tightly enough. And what you can do if that does happen is you can just take the tail of either the tail of the first leg or the starting tail from the magic circle, and just use that extra yarn to just stitch up that hole. Usually it only takes a couple of very simple stitches to close it up and allow it to not be seen when the stuffing goes in. Sometimes as well you don't actually notice the hole until the stuffing goes in. And that's Arthur Bunny's legs complete. So next time we'll take a look at his body, which is just a continuation of the double crochet but with a decrease instead of an increase as we go further up.